Good evening, folks. Marcus here. Today we're going to have a talk. It's one of my specialties. Most people think that all they need to know about driving is how to drive and whatever little details to help them pass the road test. And yes, that would be a lot easier for me just to get you guys to pass and get rid of you. But as a teacher, I feel obligated to dig a little deeper, to get into the thought process of how things are, and basically maybe even some theory and etiquette on how and why you should just follow up with what you're supposed to do. Because honestly, when people learn how to drive without following the rules or physically paying attention to those rules, you become comfortable with the car and then you're making erratic decisions with no safety or thought involved. It's kind of like just get up and go. Passing the road test should be easy for a lot of people. It seems to be difficult simply because when they get there, they don't really realize that their nervous system is going to kick in, and they're probably going to, bug out just quite a bit because of nervous, But if we were to analyze why you're nervous, many people will say, well, I didn't drive enough. Okay. I know people that didn't drive enough and yet they still pass. There are people who study a lot more and have a good idea and they actually handle the car better. And then there's people who drive for a very long time and they don't really behave at all. And they think because they've been driving for a long time that they're good drivers. So food for thought to an inspector and to many driving instructors, a new driver and an experienced driver are almost the same in reaction and what it looks like. What do I mean? Well, you get a new driver getting in the car and they're pretty much gone. You get an experienced driver in the car and they're pretty much gone. How does that look different than a new driver? Now, you could say, oh, well, they're nervous. I'm not. No, the inspector that hops in the car every day with new people, every 15 minutes of his 8-hour day, with people who haven't studied, haven't practiced, haven't really acknowledged or even, put any effort into practicing driving or even thinking about the rules, that guy hops in the car every 15 minutes with someone else that wants their license. Well, I wouldn't do his job. My job's crazy enough that I get people every hour, but you can imagine multiplying that 4 times a day. And many people don't come with a car with brakes. They also have no prior actual experience. So if you want to know why the inspector seems stern or strict, they're not anti-Jewish, they're not anti-black, white, Chinese, they're not anti-anything. They're pretty much anti-death. They don't want to die. And I say that with a bit of humor, but I can't imagine what they experience in just half of what their day is like. So in consideration, or in comparison, you have to imagine that they're deathly afraid of you. So when you get in the car the day of the road test, whether you're an experienced driver or a new driver, all of you need to act like a student driver the day of the road test. Now, by no means is this the law or it's written down anywhere in a book somewhere, but it's almost like etiquette, okay? Now, again, I'm going to show you and explain a few things to you, my opinion about how you should start, get ready, pull out, etc. But keep in mind that when you get comfortable with driving, you're going to naturally start doing things quicker. You're just going to breeze through it, especially if you had practice with your family or your parents or friends. Now, that guy turned very close to make a left. It's a whole nother bag of donuts there. Acting like a student is not something you could think about and just accomplish the next day. So you can't just study it the night before the road test and imagine that you're going to have a routine practice. You need to practice this every time you get in the car. And I believe ethically it's a good practice for individuals. And then on a psychological or a mental note, it's a lot more comfortable for the inspector to actually see that you're going step by step and processing this 5 to 10 minute test in a normal, comfortable environment. So I always recommend to people the day of the road test, when you get in the car with the inspector, that inspector, again, is probably going to ask you some questions about your information. He's going to verify who you are. He might tell you to get in the vehicle, start the vehicle, and get ready. I never recommend starting the vehicle right away, but you need to remember that it's not running. So when you get in the vehicle, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to grab your seatbelt, pull it out, leave it loose, and snap it in. You have a very loose belt. It will tighten over time while you're driving. Then you want to turn around and adjust your seat. Now, the day of the road test, many people already take lessons or they drive to the road test. So all of this stuff is done already. And again, it's just my recommendation to act like a student at the road test so you don't freak out this inspector. So if he sees you getting ready and setting up your mirrors and getting situated, I believe they would feel a lot more comfortable with anything else that happens that road test. And again, it doesn't guarantee you're going to pass, but it actually might train you, that's my air quotes, to actually just be a better driver. God forbid, right? So, after your seatbelt's on, you're going to ask the inspector, did you say I could start the car? You step on the brake, you start the vehicle after he tells you go ahead. Come over to your electric mirrors. And again, guys, act out the entire process. I even say micromanage the seats, wiggle your ass a little bit, turn your mirrors, readjust them. Make sure you actually take time to check it out. Now this inspector either already told you you leave when you're ready. Never feel rushed because of that. Don't just jump into it and pull out. He says leave when you're ready. You go, okay. Seatbelt, mirrors, okay, I see everything. We're gonna go. I step on the brake. I recommend shifting the car into drive, turning the wheel one full turn, putting on your blinker. And by the way, that is everything you need to do before you even look to see if cars are coming. Now, a lot of you have this really, I'm gonna say bad, I'm gonna say weird habit that the blinker and staring is the first thing you do. I don't know who teaches that. I'm not sure why people would hit the blinker first. And why would you stare at traffic if your car is not even ready to move? So be sure to get involved and actually get the car ready before you look for other traffic. And then when that traffic passes, you can release the brake and go. You don't have to come back and get ready. Because think about it, you're coming back, you can turn, shift, you got to look again. So we wasted that whole time just looking. Shift, turn, blinker, observe in your mirror, observe over your shoulder, and then you're going to pull out. Now, I'm not going to go driving around today. That's just for another video. As you're driving down the block, you want to pick up your speed to roughly 20 miles per hour, and you want to do that within a reasonable time, not too aggressive, not too long, usually before the next intersection. Whenever you stop for a crosswalk or any kind of intersection where there's painted lines, you want to make sure that the hood of your nose stops at the top part of the line where you can actually see the entire crosswalk. Now, there are other rules with different stop signs and different reasons, but generally you stop, you move forward, you watch for other traffic, and then you continue moving, making your left and the right. When you guys are turning, or actually when you come to a stop sign, try to acknowledge what type of stop sign it is prior to physically getting to that corner. So this way, after you stop, you know exactly what rule to apply to go. Many of you see the red light or stop, you guys see the stop sign, you stop and then you sit there kind of daydreaming and you forget that we need to proceed forward to go on. So again, according to what the rules are, you proceed forward. Another thing is when you're pulling over for any reason, whether it's to fix your You get a phone call, you're distracted, you're emotional, you're upset, you're happy, you're sad. Any reason that you are not paying attention to being on the road, whether you're trying to park, pull over and talk to a friend, make a 3-point turn, whatever the reason you are pulling left or right, you always need to use your blinker, and you need to make sure that you are not running anybody over. Now, people have a really bad delusion that they think because they see in front of them and they're looking in their rear view mirror that they actually see the people standing next to their car. Front, rear, I can't see my sides. Folks, when you pull to the side, do not assume that the mirror is showing you the people next to you or the vehicles or what have you. When you're switching lanes on the highway, don't assume that that rear view mirror is showing you over your shoulder. Now, actually, you can see the blind spot right here, right now, in the video right here. Sorry, guys. Close up. And you see that car passing. Now, I actually don't see that car when he is in that view. When he's there, I only can see him by looking. I can't see him in my mirror. My mirrors show you almost a triangular. So basically, this is what my mirrors are looking at, and this is where my mirrors are located. So primarily, you only see a little bit. Everything else in that realm is invisible. So you guys got to understand that while you're driving and learning how to park and everything, you're always worried about everything else that's way out of your perspective. But you're worried about having an accident with them. But then when you pull over to park and K-turn, you don't really give a flying monkey to even care to look. I find that entertaining. So, pulling over, pulling out, backing up, you always want to make sure you observe. Again, backing up is another fun factor. People get done with their parking or they're parked and they're going to back up to pull out of a parking space. And in this case, I can't back up because there's people behind me. But let's pretend I parked by a neighbor in front of my building, in front of my house. And his driveway is right behind my parking spot. And I'm blocked in front of me. I can't see nothing in front of me. Now, I'm sorry, I don't have room in front of me. So now I need to back up to clear the car to pull out. So many people will put their car in reverse. They look here. Now this is your rear view mirror. It shows you directly behind your car. So that means whatever you see in your rear view mirror is behind you already. Is that when you want to see your neighbor's kid crossing? Is that when you want to see the teacher in the school when you drop off your child, the other kids cross? How are you going to see these people by staring at this mirror? You always need to turn around and check on your blind spots that they're not crossing before they get to your mirror. Rear view mirrors are fantastic for driving on the highway. They suck at switching lanes. They suck when it comes to driving in reverse. We will look forward to drive forward. We will look to the left and the right to drive left and the right. But when we're backing up to the left and the right, we look behind us and only on one side? No. Turn your head. Your peripheral vision will pick up 180 degrees. You will see something there if it's there, and you're going to safely back up and not hurt anybody. Forget about the road test. This is your own neighborhood that you're worried about, folks. So, once you get on the test, you're driving down the block, they're going to tell you to make a left or a right. I'm going to have other videos online already for those turns. Then they're going to make a parking. They're going to make another left and right. Sometimes from parking, they go straight into a K-turn, 3-point turn, or a broken U-turn. By the way, they're all the same. It's basically you pulling over 1, 2, and 3. So basically, you're making a turn safely. And every time that you shift, you turn, you look, you make sure that there's nobody there, you back up, etc. I'm not sure what else I'm forgetting at the moment, but the road test compared to real life is super easy. It doesn't seem that way because people just are not really doing much to prepare. And again, I'm not talking about driving. Again, advanced drivers that driven have these habits, unlike a student. And a student driver is too nervous because he wants to look like a professional driver. And both of those people get themselves in trouble at the road test because none of them are acting like a student at the road test. You are trying to impress somebody to get your driver's license. So being cool and fast is scary. Being, excuse my expression here, when I say nerdy, I mean, I reference nerds to be people who just follow they're smart. They're smart people. Be nerdy the day of the road test. Be smart about it. When you are getting to this road test, the faster you move, the more scared your mom, your father, the instructor, the inspector, your homeboy, anybody you're driving is going to get nervous if you're aggressive. So try to separate your steps, take your time, learn your rules, and apply them. And you'll be a fantastic driver, and the road test will be a breeze. Many people do pass the road test without any of this. The 5 minutes that you're taking your test, you're in the corner of a neighborhood. There's barely any traffic. No one's crossing the street. So if nothing actually hops in front of you the day of the road test, you're just going to get a passing license for the most part. And then you hop on the road, still clueless, but you're cool because now you know how to drive, but you have no idea who goes first at the intersection. So that's going to conclude my talk for today. Hopefully you guys understand where I'm going with this. If I wanted to just make money, I would tell you guys, high five, good job. Don't worry, everybody nearly dies 5 times an hour. And just take your money and go and let you figure it out along the way. And what's sad about that is many instructors actually get away with barely teaching. They just kind of get you into a routine and they don't really push you past your comfort zones. Then you get the license and then you have to learn all this crazy stuff without the teacher. Well, I hope to give you guys that courage, knowledge, security, and discipline to actually be able to drive at an aggressive way. Not really aggressive, just a New York mentality, but not to make stupid decisions where you're going to risk your life or someone else's. Anyway, I said this before, this will conclude today's talk. I hope I didn't bore you guys. I hope this information comes to help many of you. If you have any further questions or details, please continue to check out my other videos. If not, if they don't exist yet, please leave it in the comments and be sure to subscribe and like. It helps me a lot if you could pass this on to other people that might need the information. Thanks, guys. God bless. Good luck and safe driving.